This is the Talks Cheap podcast. We are breaking down week 9 in the NFL. It's snowing outside here in Northwest Ohio. Man, I really wish I could be jet skiing down in Miami with Le'Veon Bell by now. I'm your host, Justin Hayes, and with me is Skylar, the Junkyard Dog Krawetsky.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, so speaking of Le'Veon Bell, let's head over to Pittsburgh. We had a Thursday night game. It's our only Week 10 game
so
this
far,
week.
yeah. They beat them. They played the Carolina Panthers. They beat them 52-21, man. It was a shootout and a blowout.
Yeah. Ben Roethlisberger, 5 touchdowns. He was 22 for 25 attempts.
Yeah, he threw more touchdowns than incompletions, man. That's unheard of.
That's incredible. And 0 interceptions, of course. He had a perfect passer rating. Man, you really can't criticize the guy at all. He played a great game.
I think this whole Steelers team played a great game, from James Conner to the defense. I mean, When you let the Carolina Panthers basically only score 3 touchdowns, that's great.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Panthers, even on our podcast, have been relatively sneaky good this year. But, man, they kind of took a step back with this game.
I think they didn't match up well, to be honest with you. I mean, what are the Steelers good at? Throwing the football. They don't need to run the ball to be successful. They pass the ball to run the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They pass to set up the run. Carolina's notoriously good against the run. They're notoriously bad against the pass. They were running into the buzzsaw, especially on a short week in Pittsburgh where they had something to prove. Le'Veon's going to come back next week. You know, he has to if he's going to be a free agent next year. Right. They had to show, we don't need you. We're going to win games without you. This was just a perfect storm for Carolina to lose.
Yeah. Well, on the bright side of Carolina, for all the Christian McCaffrey fantasy owners, had a heck of a game. I think he
had like 21 points or something like that.
Yeah. Well, no, he had 36 points in my league, and he had
that's right. He had 3 touchdowns. He
3
had
total touchdowns, man. 1 running the ball and then 2 catching.
Yeah, I faced Antonio Brown, Christian McCaffrey, and James Conner, so it's safe to say that I lost this week in fantasy.
Yeah, when the Steelers put up 52 points, man.
I also faced Big Ben in another league, so it's safe to say it's going to be a rough week for me, but maybe it'll be a better week for Le'Veon Bell. Doubt it. Yeah.
Well, with the Carolina Panthers, they're sneaky. They're 6-3 right now.
Yeah, 6-3 after this loss.
That's still not a bad record.
It's just the problem is they're not going to win their division even if they're good because they play with New Orleans.
Yeah.
I mean, this Carolina Panthers team, they got it on all facets except for the passing game. They cannot stop the pass. The division leader in their division has Drew Brees.
That's all they do. Yep.
I think though that we kind of want to talk about the Saints here because if Carolina's bad at stopping the pass, I'm pretty sure the Saints just got another pass catcher this week.
Oh, yeah. And I'm actually wearing his jersey this week just to kind of commemorate him. Dez
let us
Bryant.
know. Yeah, let us know who that is.
Yeah, he's going to be throwing up the X down in New Orleans. Maybe. He's going to be lined up across from Michael Thomas.
I just absolutely love this. He's a ex-receiver, yes, but I think with Drew Brees and Sean Payton, they're going to teach him, some of the stuff that he didn't get to learn in Dallas so much. I think that he's probably going to be a legitimate number 2, probably one of the best number 2s we've seen in a while.
Oh, yeah. And you haven't been on the Dez's elite train for a long time, but this won't be an elite. This will be kind of taking a step back that will probably boost his efficiency.
If he's as good as Mohamed Sanu and, in the same division, if he's as good as Mohamed Sanu, I think that it's successful for Dez. I think he earned himself a 3-year deal after this, if he's as good as Mohamed Sanu, which I think the talent's there.
So the Cowboys had the triplets in the 90s. These Saints have quintuplets right now.
Yeah, what? Michael Thomas, Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, and Dez.
And Ingram.
Yeah.
This is a offensive wrecking ball. This team's gonna go through the rest of the season and into the playoffs just killing people with points.
Especially because Drew Brees has something to prove this year. He's breaking all these passing records, but nobody's even comparing him to Tom Brady. Or for some reason, why do people think Aaron Rodgers just jumps Drew Brees?
Yeah.
Drew Brees is up there to me with not Aaron Rodgers, but Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees. I think that's my Mount Rushmore of like our era quarterbacks. Yeah. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is even in that list, but that's for another topic. But Drew Brees has something to prove. He's got to win another Super Bowl if he wants to be considered one of the all-time greats, not just statistically.
Yeah.
So to me, I think New Orleans is going to the Super Bowl.
And, this was kind of their Super Bowl of their regular season so far. They took down the L.A. Rams. And
Thank God,
the
man.
Rams were undefeated. I know you're not a big L.A. type of guy.
I'm anti-LA, man. They get everything easy out there.
Yeah. They really just they crippled them, man. They scored more points easily.
Yeah, well, they outscored them clearly, like it was like, just kind of raced outscored. But these Saints aren't no slouch on defense with Marshawn Lattimore back there, and that safety, that Marcus Williams from Utah. I mean. And they got Cameron Jordan, so they can rush the passer and they can cover the pass. That's basically all you need in this NFL to succeed. I think they match up well with a lot of teams. I mean, as you see, like, I think if they had to, let's just like a quick example, if they had to play the Steelers, I could see this team scoring 53 points to beat them. Like, if this was their Thursday night game.
That would be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I think that's a good matchup.
Of offenses.
Yeah, that would be fun.
And way we've kind of talked about it this whole season has been based around the offense and scoring via pass.
Yeah, throwing the ball around, and they got one of the best pass-catching running backs, so they can get you from run, they can get you from the ground, or they can get you through the air. And they got one of the best quarterbacks trying to prove something. And this is probably the best wide receiver running back, well, I guess duo wide receivers Drew Brees has probably ever had.
Yeah, easily. I'd have to say easily. And then Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. That's an awesome one too. Like
they complement each other so well.
Exactly.
Too.
And Kamara, he can get out in space and catch the ball like better than any other running back in the league.
Fun fact, Alvin Kamara actually played tight end for a little bit. I wouldn't have expected that, but it shows that he knows how to run routes and catch the ball. I think Alvin Kamara might be a top 5 running back in the league next year. Like going into it, I'd rank him in the top 5.
Yeah. He's
very underrated.
So the Rams just broke their undefeated streak, or had their undefeated streak broken. How would you? What happened to them? Did they just get sainted, or do they have struggles, man?
It looked like they were struggling. It looked like Sean Payton really had a game plan for him. I mean, they put up, 35 points or something like that. I mean, they scored because there's too much talent on their roster, but their defense is not as smothering as we thought it was. Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh, yes, they work. Yes, they have sacks. Yes, they rush the passer, but they weren't as dominant as you would assume they would be. You can tell this team's really missing Aqib Talib. So they really needed that second corner because after him, I can't even name. I think it's Nickel Roby Coleman is their next corner besides, Marcus Peters?
Yeah, and the rushing game, I mean, it was a mediocre game for Gurley. He got 13 attempts for 68 yards. That's an okay game, right? When you're losing a football game, you have to kind of cancel on the run in the fourth quarter and try to compete. And that's what the Saints really do with these guys is they make them pass in the fourth quarter. And when you have Jared Goff and you're comparing your quarterbacks to Drew Brees,
I'm taking Drew Brees all the time.
Exactly. So
I'd take Matt Stafford over
That's
Jared
where
Goff.
this roster is kind of flawed is when it comes down to it and you've got two high-powered offenses, you're going to lose that quarterback battle a lot of the time.
Yeah, because I kind of see where you're going with this. Is like, if you can get a lead on these Rams, because their defense is used to playing with a lead. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So they can pin their ears back and rush it back. But when you get a lead on these Rams, Todd Gurley's effectiveness goes way down. If you can take Todd Gurley away from these Rams, I think you got a shot at beating them. I don't care what record they have. Yeah. As long as you can force them to throw the ball, you got a shot in the game.
And I don't know how much more we can talk about with this game. It's quite a statement for the Saints, who have been going kind of under the radar as really an undefeated team. I mean, they lost week 1 and haven't looked back since.
Yeah, nobody was really talking about the Saints until they beat the Rams.
Yeah.
And I think you've been talking about them. You've been on them for a while.
They've been my Super Bowl projection probably for 2 or 3 weeks now. But another team, if we're ready to get off this topic, another team that is built around the run but struggles when they can't run the ball in a situation. Dallas Cowboys, man. My Dallas Cowboys lost 14-28 to the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I saw that game, man. It looked pretty rough on the Cowboys. What I took away from it is that Tennessee was ready to play, and it didn't look like you guys were, or Dak Prescott was ready to play.
Yeah, it looks like a good team playing with a non-franchise quarterback, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I watched your linebacker play. Oh my gosh, is Leighton Vander Esch good, man?
Yeah.
He's stellar, and I love Jalen Smith now finally back healthy.
He
They're
looks
good. Your
healthy,
linebacking
yeah.
core is. I think you get another draft pick in there because you're gonna have to let Sean Lee go at some point. I think you're gonna have one of the best linebacking cores in football. But onto the offensive side of the ball,
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta have a franchise quarterback for Zeke. Zeke's a great running back, but your offensive line's a little shabby. You need to threaten him downfield.
Yeah, our offensive line struggled. Dak Prescott went down a few times that I noticed, but, he gets cold feet in the red zone. We were kind of talking before the podcast, and I said Dak Prescott is a solid 70-yard quarterback. And I don't mean 70 yards per game, but I mean if you start at the 1 yard line, yeah, he might get you to that 29-yard line. But through that red zone, he's going to struggle because he starts – instead of laying back and being patient, he starts rushing that football. And what I saw a lot when they were in scoring position, he would start hearing footsteps in that pocket, and instead of stepping up like legend quarterbacks Drew Brees and all the other guys do, step up and delivering a tight squeeze pass, he panics and he rolls out and usually drops back another 8 yards and just throws a ugly looking pass.
Yeah, and the problem is that's something you can't teach. Either you're good in the red zone or you're not. I mean, we can look at like just an example would be like Matt Ryan. For 1 year, Matt Ryan was good in the red zone. After that, I mean, that's literally his downfall.
Yeah,
is the red
they
zone.
can't get Julio involved.
So I think
there.
that's something that you're not going to be able to teach. But with what Jerry said is we're going to give Dak an extension. That makes all Eagles fans and everybody in the division happy because
I've been seeing people saying that for weeks now, and you've been saying it for weeks, is that if the Cowboys re-sign Dak, it's going to be one of the most exciting moments in Philadelphia, New York, and
yeah, I'm
Washington,
excited.
DC.
I want you guys to re-sign him right now, personally, if you could.
Yeah. I'm not buying the Dak yet.
Now with Dak
currently,
yeah, if you're not buying the Dak here, and I think Dak is not the answer. I think he would have been a great bridge quarterback if you were grooming someone to be your starter, and you had to have Dak. I mean, he's young, take that away, but I think he would have been a bridge. But I think the Amari Cooper trade kind of differs a little bit now because we saw Dak Prescott as soon as he gets that number one receiver, he force feeds the ball to him. I mean, Cooper in 1 week had more targets than everybody else on your team. Yeah, he played good. Nothing on Cooper.
Well, it was actually a week and a bye week.
Yeah, a week and a bye week. But I'm saying in like one.
Exactly. It's not like they spent all training camp together and developed this bond. Oh, they did this in a bye week. You don't develop a number one receiver, a number one target bond like that. When before your number one receivers were Cole Beasley and Jeff Swaim. I mean. You're throwing the ball around and then you get a number one target and you're force feeding it left.
Yeah, it looked like when he got nervous, like his number one option was just look where Amari is and throw the football.
You see, and that's kind of like the strategy that good quarterbacks can use when they can place the ball nicely. Problem is I see Dak throwing into double coverage and they're not compatible balls. They're not catchable. If anything, they're catchable for the defense and it's really sad and scary to watch is when he completely overthrows a guy. It's not even a catchable ball.
We're kind of talking about Dak and the Cowboys this much, but, I was kind of looking at Marcus Mariota stats real quick. I kind of want to switch it over.
Sure.
Dak kind of reminds me of a little Marcus Mariota. We thought he was a franchise quarterback. Then we were like, well, maybe he just needs some help, maybe a coaching change. Mm-hmm. He's sporadic, just like Dak. Like one game, like this game, he looked decent, right? His stats show that he was decent. I watched the game; he looked pretty decent. But he has the same problems in the red zone. He gets nervous. He wants to run, but he wants to back up. And then he wants to run around. He wants to make some. He force feeds his best players. Mm-hmm. And with Delaney Walker not there, he's not really knowing what he's supposed to do because that's his safety blanket is the tight end. And he overthrows the deep ball, but then some games he looks like Aaron Rodgers, that kind of Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers battle.
You can go toe to toe with somebody, but then 1 week you're overthrowing your number one target left and right.
So that's kind of a little comp I got for it. I think he's Marcus Mariota, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of question marks in Dallas. It's not clear cut. Like this is the thing that we have to do. maybe there's some coaching involved, and a lot of people have thrown names out there, Scott Linehan, but I'm personally on the change for offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think you're gonna change your offensive coordinator. I could see it. I don't think Jason Garrett's getting fired. Personally, I really don't. That's Jerry Jones's boy, man.
Yeah.
Just like Dak, they're two peas in a pod. But I
Yeah.
think Scott Linehan's out the door. I think after this season, you won't fire him mid-season just because there's too much pride in Dallas to just throw away a season.
Yeah.
They're gonna still fight, but I think he's fired after this season.
Well, and in the NFC East, it's not necessarily too far to reach, but it's almost a win-out situation for Dallas.
Yeah, if you don't beat the Eagles this week, which that goes to our next game, but if you don't beat the Eagles this week, I think it's over. I don't think you're winning the division.
Yeah.
You're going to be 2.5 games back from Washington and Philadelphia. I don't see it happening, buddy.
It's going to be tough. Like you said, though, with the Cowboys are heading over. Are they heading to Philly? Or
They're heading to Philly under the lights Sunday night.
And you said something about them wearing black jerseys.
Yeah, we're wearing our black jerseys. We're like notoriously good. I don't know the exact statistic, but I think we've only lost like 5 or 6 games since we debuted the black jerseys.
Yeah, and they've been doing it for
at least 10s.
Yeah,
at least 15. Let's just say
15
years, and we've only lost 5 or 6 games when we wear the black jersey, and we wear them at least 3-4 times a year.
Yeah,
and it's under the lights in Philadelphia, and I think weather's going to be a factor, which kind of helps you guys because you guys run the football, but our defensive line is what's known for stopping the rush, so I think it's kind of playing into our hand.
Yeah, but if you take and you look at it, the Cowboys have been like an 8-8 team for the past few years now, or mediocre. They've had one good year, and most of them just been middle of the road, struggling to try and find playoffs. The Cowboys and the Eagles, their kind of rivalry, last 10 games, it's split.
Yeah, it's split even. I mean, you take into and you guys beat us that 3 years or 3 games in a row. You know what I mean? You guys really had the lead there. What I kind of take out of the rivalry is that I think we both come prepared, but I think the best shot at Dallas winning is always the first game. It seems like for some reason Philadelphia is never really ready to take the reins, and I think that's kind of been our place in the division historically, is we've never really wanted to take the reins and seize the moment until last year. I don't know if that's been coaching or what.
And last week, if we were talking about this, I would say you have kind of a counterpoint here. The Cowboys are terrible this year on the road, but it's almost like we're just terrible everywhere now.
Personally, I think this is going to be a blowout. If I had to bet money, I think Philadelphia is going to win by 2, maybe 2 touchdowns, at least 2 scores, 10 points. I think that the Cowboy killer Golden Tate is really going to make a difference.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how he shows up in them black and green uniforms.
Well, we're finally getting healthy. This is the only reason we're going to completely win, is our team is finally getting healthy. We're getting Timmy Jernigan back. I don't know if he'll play, but he's been practicing all week.
Yeah.
That only helps our defensive rotation. You know how we just keep rotating guys and throwing waves and waves. Our tackles are finally healthy. I mean, our center is playing lights out again after we thought about cutting him 2 years ago. And we got Golden Tate and Nelson Aguilar. So I think that our passing game is going to lead to our run because our running backs are pretty much trash.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to pass the ball a lot. It just depends on what Dak Prescott shows up. I think
which Dak
shows up, because our pass defense is atrocious. So if Dak can pick us apart, if we sit back and play cover 3, I think you got a good shot. But I think if we pin our ears back and come after Dak, I think that's where you guys are going to struggle.
Yeah, and the Eagles seem like one of the only teams in the NFC East that likes to seize moments. This is a big moment for you guys because Washington lost to
Atlanta,
yeah. That really puts you guys in a good situation with this division win to really find.
Yeah, we can seize the division.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I'm trying to get at is it seems like the Cowboys never take those opportunities to fly and to run with it. They usually struggle in those key moments. Eagles seem like the only team in the division that can do that, but Washington, from this point on, have a really easy schedule.
They do. I think they play the Bucs this week.
Yeah.
With Fitzmagic back, which I think he's gonna have a bad game. I think
eventually he's gonna have a rough game again. He's a better starter than Jameis Winston, but
which I'm gonna completely say is a bust. I'm going to come out and
yeah.
say that Jameis Winston's a bust. I thought Mariota would be better than Jameis. I didn't think he was worth the first-round pick. He's not franchise quarterback material.
Mm-hmm.
He's got off-the-field issues. He's already had 2 in the NFL, and then he stole crab legs at Florida State. I think, what year was that, 2015, that me and you went to that draft in Chicago? I think it was the year he got drafted. I think that was probably one of the worst quarterback drafts in a long time. So,
yeah, well, Mariota, you got to remember, looked like he was about to pan out really big, but he had that injury midseason. You really haven't just seen him.
Yeah, since he got hurt with that ACL injury, he hasn't really been the same. And that's, you can't.
Unfortunate.
It is. I feel bad for him. He's kind of getting the RG3 treatment.
Yeah.
Not fall off the face of the planet, but he's just not getting able to become the same again.
Yeah.
It's really hindered him.
Yeah. And we have any other games to cover, Skylar?
Yeah, I kind of do want to talk about this Chargers-Seahawks game that Melvin Gordon kind of dominated.
And tell me the score on this game.
It was 25-17.
25-17?
Yeah, he had 16 attempts for 113 yards. I think this Chargers team's a real deal. I just want to keep talking. If they didn't play in Kansas City's division, I think we'd be talking about the Chargers maybe being the dark horse Super Bowl team.
Well, yeah, I've seen a lot of them ranking them right now above the other LA team and the Rams.
Yeah, they're still not healthy yet, and they just keep winning.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they played Seattle, but I'm telling you, Seattle's a better team than everybody thinks they are.
I say, Phillip Rivers cleans up his game, and they get a running game again to really kind of rely on, and Phillip Rivers is playing out of his mind. It's a formula to win.
Yeah, this AFC, I think, is a lot better than we thought it would be.
That's a good point, because this whole season we were on the NFC train. It's a competitive division, but what it looks like is the AFC has more Titans, and I don't mean the football team. I mean they've got big, ready-to-go teams that are going to head into the playoffs.
With seasoned quarterbacks.
Right. They've got these teams that there's a lot of them up in there that could make it all the way.
Yeah, like I can say Chargers, Chiefs, Steelers, and
of
the
course Patriots
are all a chance to win the Super Bowl. And that
right.
With the NFC, you really have New Orleans, Chicago, Philadelphia, and maybe Los Angeles, but we just saw New Orleans demolish them.
Yeah, but the weird thing is in the NFC is it's so much more middle of the road on these divisions and kind of up in there on who's going to win them. You've got really the AFC South with the Saints?
The AFC South is with the Colts. The NFC South is with the Saints.
That's what I meant, NFC South. With the Saints and the Atlanta Falcons and the
Panthers.
Who we talked about, the Panthers.
Yeah.
That's really one of the only competitive or highly competitive divisions, and really I can't see those teams going all out besides for the Saints.
Yeah, I couldn't see any of those. I think the Panthers are going to be a hard first-round exit, and if they win, I think that's as far as they go. They're going to be a wild card. And
if they win, though, that would say a lot about Cam Newton this season. That'd be a good way to end, at least to end up with a playoff win, a wild card win.
Yeah, I mean, after that Super Bowl, they haven't really been the same.
Yeah, but he is playing a good year, a good season.
He's having one of the best seasons he's had. I mean, I don't think he's playing, top 10 level, but
well, he's regained his consistency, and
which was his problem. That was his problem.
Exactly. It seemed like he would just let the press just kind of destroy him after a loss, and he wouldn't come back any better, and finally he's kind of got his head on right, and they're winning some games.
It's nice to see.
Yeah, they've actually got some playmakers out there.
Yeah, but the problem is now he's at the end of his prime, because what makes Cam Newton good is not his arm, it's his legs, and now he's going to be 30 years old.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Cam Newton to become a 40-year-old quarterback in the NFL.
He's got maybe like 3 or 4 years left, and I don't think the Panthers are winning a Super Bowl anytime soon. Yeah. I got one more game I want to talk about before we move on to our 3-question thing. Let's talk about the Packers and the Patriots, man. The score was 17-31 Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about the Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady dilemma. I want to keep hammering this home. if we switched teams, it's easiest thing to say in the world. You know, if I had this player and this player, but let's just switch quarterbacks. There's no reason to believe that Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have 5 or 6 Super Bowls. He's just as talented as Tom Brady, but the problem is he's got literally half the organization. Green Bay would be a second-rate organization if it wasn't for Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. If you take those 2 quarterbacks away, they were really good a long time ago, back in the 60s, and they're nothing. Yeah. It's literally been Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and they got lucky twice in getting two of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah.
So without them, they would be nothing, and I think they continue to fail because of their organization. They need to figure something out. They're basically the Cleveland Browns with two of the best quarterbacks of all time.
It's like if a Cleveland sports team found one of the greatest players of all time and took a really long time to give him any kind of help, and then they just kind of walked away.
And you only won one Super Bowl or one championship out of it, and then he left. And wow. Wait, could you be talking about LeBron James?
And the Cleveland Cavaliers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really neat kind of comparison you made there.
Yeah, they're literally the Packers are literally the Cleveland Cavaliers. You get, I'm gonna say, the best basketball player of all time. You get arguably the best quarterback, most talented quarterback of all time. Him and Dan Marino are the most talented quarterbacks of all time, and you get one championship out of it.
Yeah.
You can tell that it's just a shoddy organization. That's the problem. And the Patriots are a world-class organization. I mean, Bill Belichick has turned the Patriots into a team that literally wasn't going to exist anymore. I don't know if you remember, the Patriots were awful. Their attendance was awful. Bill Belichick turned them into a powerhouse, literally a household name. You could go anywhere in the world and say New England Patriots, and they know who they are, or Tom Brady.
Oh, easily now. They're easily becoming America's team. You know?
Yeah, I think there was a survey, not a shot at the Cowboys. They were like, they listed all these NFL teams. I think it was 5, and the Patriots were America's most liked team. However, they were America's most hated team as well when they did a survey. So you take it with a grain of salt. However, the Patriots are a world-class organization, and the Packers are not. And I feel bad for Aaron Rodgers because he's never going to get a fair shake, kind of like Dan Marino.
Yeah,
I think, and also Dan Faust, to be honest with you, they never got fair shakes because they never won multiple championships.
There's a lot of quarterbacks out there that kind of fell under the rubble of a bad organization.
That's why I put Drew Brees as my actual GOAT, because we put too much weight on championships. Like, you can't penalize a quarterback or, let's say, running back or even basketball player for the organization that he's drafted to.
Yeah, I would be in total agreement with you on that statement. I believe you have a pick 3 for me. You said something about that?
Yeah, I have a pick 3, but it's more like a pick 4. I got 4 teams here. I'm just going to ask you, if you were a GM, what team would you take over as GM? You know, you get full control over the organization, no Jerry Jones kind of thing going on. I'm going to give you the Browns, the Lions, the Dolphins, or the Cardinals. Kind of all the teams that are underperforming. We expect, the Cardinals were expected to be around 6-10. They're really underperforming. The Browns, I expect to be 7-9. You said maybe even playoffs. The Lions were supposed to be up there. We expected them to be bad, but Lions fans didn't think they would be bad. And the Dolphins took the league by storm and then just fell off. So
yeah. Well, with the Lions, I see a quarterback, which a solid franchise quarterback, and surprisingly young. I mean, he's still in his prime.
Yeah, he's only 29, and he's the type of quarterback, because he's got such a strong arm, he's going to be good till he's at least 38.
Which is very important for me. And with the Dolphins, you've got another not so young
He's 28, 29, so you're right.
Yeah, so you've got another quarterback in that same kind of age realm who's not good.
Yeah, who's not good, no. He's like a bridge kind of quarterback.
Exactly. Yeah. And then in the Cardinals and the Browns, you've got young guys. But with the Dolphins, I think their start of the year was kind of a fluke.
Yeah, there's no direction to this team. Exactly. Are they a running team? Are they a passing team? What's good about them? They have one solid position group, and that's their wide receivers, and none of them are a true cut number 1 with Kenny Stills, Albert Wilson, and Devontae Parker. They're all under 28 years old, and none of them are a number 1 receiver.
Yeah, I think there would be a little too many pieces to shop for me. I think that'd be more of maybe your option, because they're more of a sell type of team and then rebuild. The Lions, like I said, I really like their quarterback option.
I love their running back. I mean, Kerryon Johnson's turned
Oh,
into
yeah.
one of the.
And we talked about him at the beginning of the season that we thought he'd be pretty solid. But I'm just not sold on their overall team.
Yeah, their defense is too old to really try to build.
Mm-hmm.
Their offensive line's either good one game or bad one game. I mean, there's really no direction either at this team. I mean, you got a good quarterback, and that's about it. And you play in one of the toughest divisions in football with Aaron Rodgers. No matter what, Aaron Rodgers is going to win games.
They do have a nice group of young wide receivers. I like.
I love Marvin Jones, man.
Yeah.
I can't believe Cincinnati just didn't.
And Kenny Galladay, he's having a great season again.
One of the steals of the draft.
Yeah. And
not this draft, but
yeah, last year he kind of took the league by storm, and everybody kind of just thought it was a situation. You know, he was playing in a perfect fit with a lot of other good guys.
And now he's still doing good without Golden Tate.
Exactly. And then you've got the Cardinals and Browns. I've been hating on the Browns a lot this season since they've just kept on shooting themselves in the foot. The Cardinals, though, I spit on them almost. It seems like what they had going for them
was their awesome defense, and then they let a couple key pieces go. So
yeah, and then also they had one of the best running backs in the league.
Oh yeah, how could we forget about David Johnson?
Exactly, and now you don't know what you have in him, so it's kind of something that you can't trade away because it's not worth
running
as
backs
much
aren't
as what
worth
you
anything.
want.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the Browns are an interesting point because if you given me the list, and you did, with the Browns at the beginning, that's the last option I think I would have picked. However, surrounding the team, the team surrounding them and these options, I'd probably take the Browns. Man, their Baker Mayfield, man, he's starting to light it up.
Yeah, he's starting to turn into one of the best quarterbacks in this draft, to be honest with you. Well, he's showing like he is.
Yeah, he's actually becoming a more efficient scorer, less interceptions, more touchdowns, which is something it took him a while to get going.
You know what's even weird, though? He started doing that when he got time in the pocket. It was weird. I don't know how that works, but as soon as a quarterback gets time in the pocket for some reason, he does better.
Oh, yeah, like their offensive line shows up for work that day. And suddenly,
because they have 3 out of 5 pieces for an offensive line. So, you would think they could at least string a couple games together.
Yeah, but I like the young talent that they have there, and another year of not doing so well.
With another top 10 pick.
Exactly.
As long as they pick the right type of player, like, for a position, which I think it should be defensive tackle. That was a dumb move to let Danny Shelton go. I think they got a good shot. Get a pass rushing nose tackle. This defense could be real legit.
Yeah. I'm liking their draft picks from this year, and Baker Mayfield, I was struggling to get on his kind of train, but he's doing things that I didn't think he'd be doing at year one. So I'm actually proud of him in that regard. I thought he's a great prospect coming out of college, but his size really worried me early in the season.
Yeah, his size worried me too. You could tell that size was going to be an issue.
But now that he's getting time in the pocket, like you said, it's starting to show that he can make plays happen.
Yeah, it don't matter how tall he is. He just needs time. I think what we're trying to compare Baker Mayfield to is kind of like the Carson Wentz, all these tall quarterbacks. Like when stuff breaks down, they make stuff happen. Well, this ain't going to be the guy. But also, I think he's probably got better arm talent, I'm going to say, than Carson Wentz. I think he throws the ball better than Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is a little inaccurate and a little wild with his throws. Baker's not wild. He pinpoints where he's going to throw the ball, and that's where it goes. If the wide receiver don't catch it, it don't matter because he throws it in a position not to be turned over.
Yeah, you see, so I think there's only a few moves you have to make with the Browns in order to become
a couple, like firing your head coach.
Well, I know you're not on the Greg Williams train. I would definitely get somebody with more experience or more success.
I would, if I'm not the one that picked the GM, but if I was the GM, I'm going after Kansas City's offensive coordinator, John DeFilippo from the Eagles to the Vikings, and then have him come to Cleveland. I'd make him my head coach.
But here's what I really want to see is if they got some good wide receivers out there. I'm not big on, was it Rashard Higgins? I'm not.
Why didn't the Browns go after Demaryius Thomas, man? That would have just made so much sense. Just see what you got in Baker. Let's just see what you got and help Jarvis Landry out a little bit.
So with some help on that the interior of their defensive line, because I think the outside pieces are good. I mean, one is great, Myles Garrett.
Yeah,
I don't
Ogba's better than average. So
exactly. So with a few extra pieces on that defense and just a lot of help in that receiving core and an offensive-minded head coach, maybe Greg Williams back to defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I'm not fond of him, but he just definitely serviceable at defensive coordinator.
Yeah. I think you could make something happen there. Like I said, too much young talent for me to pass up. The Lions have the best quarterback out of these options, but I want more talent on my roster.
I think the Browns have top to down. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Baker has the ability to become maybe a top 10 quarterback, in the future NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's crazy to say. I mean, I know that's a little bit of a hot take there, but I don't think it's crazy to say. I think Baker Mayfield has all the tools to be a top 10 quarterback. It's just, again, he plays for the Cleveland Browns. We talked about bad organizations. Mm-hmm. Cleveland is probably one of the worst, up there with Oakland.
So if I could flip this thing around on you and give you those same options, just short and simple, who would you take? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, I was going to take the Browns with you, and you know how you said the Dolphins were kind of in the sell place, and the Cardinals, really, I don't like anything about them. So I'd probably take the Lions, to be honest with you. I trust Matt Patricia more than I thought I did, especially previously in our podcast. Mm-hmm. And I think they're in that mediocre stage with a franchise quarterback for about 8 years. So I think that I could probably sell a couple pieces, get a couple draft picks, and hopefully hit like the New Orleans Saints did and just kind of ride the wave.
Yeah, I could see it. I feel like it's going to be hard to prove yourself a GM for many years when you're going to be going from 8-8, 9-8, and then you're probably going to sell a few pieces and lose a lot of games. I feel like with the young talent of the Browns, you can go somewhere and having a low expectation first year.
Yeah,
first
you
2 years.
You could sell, you could buy, you could go all in. You got a little safety there in the GM spot, because as long as you don't lose more than 3 or win more than 3 games, you're good. You know what I mean?
I think in Detroit, attendance would probably go to its all-time low, and you might be on the hot seat. But if we're not worried about that, you've got a heck of a point right there. You really do, with having a franchise quarterback who's still in his prime and still have years to go.
He's clearly the most talented. Like, Baker could be Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's already Matt Stafford.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. And you've got a little better of an organization, at least. And you, like you said, Matt Patricia, solid head coach in the mind that he lets his offensive coordinator handle the game.
I think that's, kind of my nick because of all the rule changes. You have to have, if you're going to have a defensive coordinator, you got to have a solid offensive coordinator and let them control the offense.
A defensive-minded head coach.
And yeah, if you're going to have a defensive-minded head coach, you got to have a solid offensive coordinator. And the Lions do. I love Jim Bob Cooter, especially the name, man. Jim Bob Cooter for president.
Right. I don't know who. I don't know what his political views are, but he sounds like the type of guy.
He sounds like a winner to me, man.
All right, man. That sums it up, man. Thank you for listening. This has been the Talk is Cheap podcast. Make sure you stay tuned in on Spotify, iTunes, and also now on YouTube. Thank you.